Well, first he lied, and then he started covering his tracks. So let's see what we have here. So this is the original post from Kurt Heise on Facebook, and this was, you can see, 13 hours from the time that I captured this page, which was about 3 hours before that. And here's what Kurt Heise says. He says, "I'm proud to be supporting Mike Rogers for U.S. Senate. Unfortunately, Chuck Kermy," who of course is the guy who's running against him for Plymouth Township Supervisor. By the way, Kurt Heise is the incumbent Plymouth Township Supervisor. Unfortunately, Chuck Kermy, aka CC Plymouth, I'll explain what that means in a second, followed his alt-right handlers and signed the quote-unquote Rescue Michigan petition urging President Trump to withdraw his endorsement of Rogers. Kermy is owned by these right-wing fringe groups, is out of the mainstream, and is simply unelectable. Now, obviously, most of you probably know about the petition that we did organize, and I'm very proud of, a week or so ago, urging President Trump to rescind his endorsement of Mike Rogers, a deep state rhino who would have voted to impeach him had he been in office, and will absolutely, for a certainty, do everything possible to sabotage a subsequent Trump administration. It was a terrible endorsement. 1,150 people signed that petition. I'm very proud of every single one of them. Unfortunately for Kurt Heise, Chuck Kermy was not one of those people. And I know this because I circulated the petition. I know who signed the petition and who didn't. But Kurt Heise doesn't, because we only sent out a redacted version of the people that signed the petition. We did send an unredacted version to President Trump's campaign itself. That was the purpose of the petition. So the Trump campaign got the full names and email addresses of the people who signed the petition and their zip codes, which includes cities. But in our official release, we redacted the names and the email addresses of the people that signed the petition. Hence, CC Plymouth, who unfortunately for Kurt Heise is not Chuck Kermy. I thought about asking the woman whose initials are CC from Plymouth, and she might give me that permission, but I'm not going to ask her, honestly. I don't want to go down that path of asking people that sign petitions. That's really between them and the person they're petitioning. It's not really for me to say, hey, I'm not going to say her first name. Would you like to come forward so that you can identify that you were the person that signed the petition, whose initials are CC and from Plymouth? I'm not going to do that. It's not necessary. The point is, Kurt Heise is a dirty liar. And of course, he's also lying about everything else in here too. Chuck Kermy, and by the way, I have no idea who Chuck Kermy is. I've never heard of him. He may or may not be on my email list. I don't know. He is not someone I own. But that's what Kurt Heise, scumbag, lying sack of trash, says. Kermy is owned by these right-wing fringe groups. Are we such a fringe group, Kurt? Are we? Because if we want to ever compare email list sizes, I got more than 70,000 people on mine. And how many you've got, Mr. Fringe? But I don't own Kurt. I mean, I don't own Kermy. Chuck Kermy. Never heard of Chuck Kermy. And he never signed my petition. For all I know, he's never heard of us. So we, made that point. You can see at the bottom there in the comments. I made this comment at the bottom there. Kurt Heise is a liar, which he is. He made this comment with reckless disregard for the truth. He is a liar. Charles Kermy did not sign our letter. Someone else from Plymouth, whose initials are CC, did. But that's who Kurt Heise is, someone who libels people based on his own false assumptions. What a scumbag. And I stand by that remark. And, a few hours later, I decided to check in, see, what might, if anything, Kurt Heise might have said in response to that. I assume he was going to apologize, retract it. But no, actually, turns out, instead, when I went back to that page, I got this instead. This content's not available right now. When this happens, it's usually because the owner only shared with a small group of people, changed who can see it, or it's been deleted. Yeah. Well, gee, Obviously, that means that he took down that post. Oh, wait, no. This is his homepage, facebook.com/Heise4US. No, he didn't take down his page or retract his post. He just blocked me. The problem, Kurt, the reason why blocking doesn't work very well is because it's not very hard for someone to just simply go to your page when we're not logged in. And here we are in a different browser window, not logged in. And there you see his page, Kurt Heise for supervisor. Here's another big fat lie, big fat dirty liar. Look at that photo. That's photo. Look, I remember when Kurt Heise was in the legislature. He didn't look like that 10 years ago. That picture is at least 25 years old. Either that or it was generated by AI. That's not a contemporaneous photo of Kurt Heise. He looks a little bit more like the photo, above here with the much chubbier face. Not that I want to talk, but I'm not running for office. So, and here's the post again, saying the same thing as always. And of course, he deleted my comment after he banned me. And there's, of course, his top fans comment still there with probably a thumbs up from, let me guess, Kurt Heise. Kurt Heise thumbs up his own supporters comment there, deletes mine. So he's not actually owning up to the fact that he's just lying about his opponent, even though he's now been called out in that lie. Don't worry, Kurt. We'll get news release out in the morning. We'll make sure your constituents know about this. Dirty, dirty liar, Kurt Heise. By the way, for those who don't know about Kurt Heise's background, in 2016, I was working for Gary Glenn, and 2014. Gary Glenn had just won the Republican primary, and he suggested to the HRCC, the House Republican Campaign Committee, they sent me out to go help out a candidate in a tough race, and they sent me out to the 20th district, which is Plymouth, where Jeff Noble had just won the Republican nomination, and it was a tough district, tough seat, and I had to help him win his campaign, which we did. He won, but what it turned out was going on. This was Kurt Heise's seat, and Kurt Heise was term limited. And it turns out, according to everybody I spoke to in that district, Kurt Heise made a deal with the Democrats, because there was 3 candidates running for the nomination in that race. Jeff Noble was one of them. Another one was Chris Rusin. I forgot the other guy's name. But Kurt Heise, whose career in Lansing was over because there was already someone in the state Senate seat and he wanted to continue his career. So according to everybody I spoke to in that district, the deal Kurt Heise worked out with the Democrats was, if you support me for Plymouth Township supervisor, we will keep the Republicans out of that race. And you guys, the Democrats, can be free to vote for who you perceive to be the weakest Republican in the race, Jeff Noble. Jeff Noble's campaign was, I think, recruited by Pat Colbeck. His campaign manager was Pat Colbeck's intern. They thought he was going to be the most beatable candidate. So he worked out a deal with the Democrats. Let me be the township supervisor, and we'll leave the race open. We'll help the weakest Republican win, so you guys can take the state house seat. He endangered the Republican majority so that he could become the Plymouth Township supervisor. That's Kurt Heise. And to this day, still a dirty, lying scumbag. And here he is. His alt-right handlers. Like I said, I don't know anything about Chuck Kermy, so I have no idea who his campaign staff is. But this kind of rhetoric, alt-right handlers. By the way, does anyone know what alt-right means anymore? I mean, that was a slander word against the Republicans, the conservatives in general, like 5 years ago. I don't think anyone knows what it means anymore. Alt-right handlers. What a douchebag. Is Mike Rogers going to say anything about this, by the way? Because the reason I'm saying something about this is because he's using Rescue Michigan in his smear campaign. Hey, Mike. Mike, you going to say something about your buddy Kurt Heise you did a fundraiser for? Attacking his opponent based on a false claim? I'm not holding my breath. There you go, folks. Kurt Heise, scumbag. Folks, if you're going to invoke Rescue Michigan in your lies, don't expect not to be called out on it. We'll be talking more about this with the media tomorrow morning. That's all for tonight, folks. Have a great evening. As always, thanks for Audio for Liberty. Peace.